Welcome to Brand Builders TV. Deep dive topics, tools and resources brought to you by global thought leaders from within the Brand Builders Club. This show gives you access to the strategies that you can use to move forward with ease and flow in every area of your life and business. In today's show, Claire is going to help you discover how to get the most reluctant young readers reading and writers writing, focusing this week on rhyme and rhythm to create an effective poem simply and easily. Learn it, model it, and get shit done. Let's go.
Hello, and welcome back to another Teaching Literacy with Soul training. With me, Claire Ford, your expert educator and switched on mum, care of Brand Builders TV. So this is really exciting because in this training today, I'm going to give you some top tips to be able to teach your children how to write a rhyming poem quickly, easily, and effectively so that you can get even the most reluctant writer writing. You see, what happened during lockdown is that, of course, many of you were at home and you had to find ways to teach your kids, right? And who knows if we're going to have a second lockdown after half term, or for those of you who have chosen to take your children out of school and homeschool them, this should give you a really quick and easy strategy that you can share. You can play back this video to them with your children and go through the process. So this is how it's going to work. I'm going to take you through the training, and then also if you want to take part, please do. So when you hop on, please do pop your name in the comments below this video. I would love to see where you're coming in from, how old your children are, you know, if you're passionate about poetry, or if actually it's something you've always loathed and dreaded, then this is going to be the training for you to turn that around. So basically, my name is Claire and I have created the Switched On Academy, and what we're doing today is we're looking at this training on poetry, which is part of the English program in the core curriculum. All right, so why did I do that? Because what happened during lockdown is that I did a creative writing challenge with children all around the world. And in fact, I was so blown away by some of their stories, by some of their poems, by some of their illustrations, that I'm actually collaborating with these children to put together a book called Lollipops and Rainbows. And that is where I'm going to be sharing the poem with you today from, right? And so the reason that we talk about teaching literacy with soul is that the content of all the different things that I've been sharing with you over the last weeks, and in fact this is week 3, so there are 2 other trainings that have just gone. The content is really beautiful. It's high vibrational content, right? To really lift our vibration, to lift our spirits, to lift our energies, to lift our frequencies, and to open up clever conversations. And there's also a magic meditation at the end, which I really hope that you're going to enjoy as well. All right, so let's get going. What I'm going to do is share my screen with you. Let's hope that that will work, and then I will talk you through the training. Okay, so let's go. Right, top tips for writing a rhyming poem. Okay, so I'll just find my my thing. Here we go. All right, let's have a look at this then. So what, first of all, we need to work out is, right, what is a poem? And by the end of this training today, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to know what a stanza is, how to count syllables, and how to use near rhyme. So these are 3 particular kind of poetry type phrases and things, techniques that we need to use when we're writing poems. So if you haven't done this perhaps for many years, Or if this is something that is completely new to you, then you are in the right place. And I would love for you to have a go with this and to, share these techniques with your children. Okay, so let's just think about, first of all, why am I doing this training with you? So here I am with my two gorgeous sons. They're a little bit older now than they are in this picture. Alex is now 19 and Oscar's 16, which I can't believe. So I love teaching. I've been teaching for many years. I love languages and words, and I love getting young people to write creatively, right? And one of the things that I'm passionate about is children getting switched on to learning so they can unlock their gifts and talents and experience joy and fun while they're combining education with emotional and spiritual well-being. And if that's something that interests you, to get support around that, let's just have a conversation. I think there's a link in the bio somewhere around this video. All right, so what is a poem? What is a poem? And, many of you adults will be, probably heard of Byron and Rumi and people like this. And so what makes poetry so magical is that it expresses feelings and ideas, but in a very few choice words, right? If we take, for example, haiku, and I've done a haiku training and a cinquain training with children, right, which you can access. The thing that makes these kinds of poems so beautiful is that because we have to find the exact right word to express that thought or that emotion or that image which we want to get across to our reader. And diction is a word that we use, which is to do with the words in poems, and also it often involves counting syllables, which we'll go into in just a moment. Okay, so let's see what else. So now that your magical learning journey is beginning, this is the first thing that you have to do. You have to choose something called your rhyming scheme. Now, the easiest way to talk about this is to take, when you see a poem, you can take different lines of the poem and put a letter next to each line where you have the same kind of rhyme. So let me show you what I mean, because that's going to be the easiest way to explain it. I apologize for the fuzziness in this picture, but this is the Green Eggs and Ham poem, which you might well know, right? So what I'm interested in is the rhyming pattern. So you can see here, I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like them in a boat. I do not like them with a goat. I do not like them in a house. I do not like them with a mouse. So the way that Dr. Seuss has done this poem, this pattern, is that he's got the first two lines rhyming. So we call that pattern A. He's got the second group of lines 3 and 4 rhyming. That's pattern B. And then he's got lines 5 and 6 rhyming together in a different pattern again, which is pattern C. So these are called rhyming couplets, and you can see that they work together in the rhyme AA, BB, CC. So when he writes his second verse, and of course you're welcome to go and read Green Eggs and Ham, you'll notice that he uses the same rhyming pattern in couplets all the way through his poem. So that's the first thing to think about. Okay. The second thing to think about is that we can use sound and repetition for effect. So what do I mean by that? So first of all, obviously repetition means we repeat the words. So for example, we could say, I went up and down and round, okay? So obviously we've got that ow sound in the middle, and that's called assonance when we repeat the same vowel sound in words. So assonance is a good word to know. And of course that repetition really gives the reader the sense of moving, right? And so, especially if you're talking about waves, if you're talking about horses galloping, if you're talking about a person walking and plodding on and on and on, right? You can use repetition for effect. And in poetry, you can actually use whole lines or whole verses repeated for effect, which is what we get in songs, which we call a chorus, right? We use a whole set of words, a whole stanza is repeated for effect, because that's the chorus, and that helps to jog memory. And this is really important to use this, because quintessentially this helps date back all the way to our caveman times, when we used to use sound and repetition on instruments, right? This is why drumming is so important. This is why chanting is so important. This is how things were remembered. And it's called call and effect, right? So you say something, the person repeats it back, or you say something and the person repeats a section of the poem back, right? So this is something that you can really look into for cultural enrichment with your children. And you can do this through music, you can do this through rhyme, you can do this through creation stories, all sorts of different things. And I will give you some more suggested follow-up activities at the end. So this is really, really important, this repetition, right? This goes deep into our soul of remembering who we used to be when we were in tribal communities. Do not underestimate the power of this. All right, you can tell I'm getting excited now. Also, about sound, another thing to bear in mind is something called onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia, which is where a word resembles the meaning sound that it represents. So looking at this thunder here, you could use words like crash, bang, and, you know, with fireworks coming up, we can use, you know, pop and whiz and things like that, right? And these words are very powerful because they give the reader not just an image, but they give the reader an auditory trigger as well, which is very important, very powerful, very effective, and quite easy to actually create. All right, so let me know how you're going with this. If you're loving this, I'd like to know your comments. I'd like to know if you can think of any onomatopoeic words, which are words which make the sound that they represent. Okay, clatter, shatter. Okay, all these kinds of words. Okay, top tip number 3 is to wow us with words. In poetry especially, where we don't necessarily have that much space to go all around the houses to explain something, we have to be very specific with the words that we use, and therefore you need to have a wide-ranging vocabulary, right? And sometimes writing the funniest, most simplest poems can be hard because we can't quite find the word we need. So this is where reading widely really helps. Listening perhaps to books really helps, and also understanding how to use a thesaurus really helps, and playing word games like Scrabble at home can really help as well, because it's just broadening that vocabulary, and it's difficult to get children to swallow a dictionary, right? So using wow words is something that I love. I'm a real wordy person and I love using unusual words. You could even have a word of the week that you use at home, right? I've done that with some of my families where we've used a word of the week, and it's like a challenge. Who can use this word in context the most times this week? All right, so I love this picture. It's quite cheeky. So here we have got a donkey here. We've got saying, you know, have fun with it, right? Have fun with it. And so this is important because, you know, people learn best when they are having fun, right? Ooh, look at his teeth. He needs teeth right now. People learn best when they're having fun. And so it is so important to make learning fun, right? For you and for your children. And, you know, writing nonsense poetry can be a really good way of doing this, right? I even do nonsense sentences with children that I'm tutoring just to make fun when we're doing their spellings practice and things like this. So showing children funny poems can work really well. And, you know, poetry is the best way to have fun with words, because you can just have a nonsense poem and then it doesn't matter whether it really makes sense or not, but you can actually get to grips with the rhyming and the syllables and the patterns. All right, so we're going to read my poem soon, but another thing that I've got here is to plan out your content, right? Plan out your content. So you need to know what you're going to be writing your poem about. Of course you do. And the poem that I'm going to read with you in just a moment is called How the Earth Was Made, right? So for me to plan out my content for this, I just jotted down like brain dump or heart dump, whatever comes into your mind or your heart, right? And just mind map it out. It doesn't matter whether it rhymes or it doesn't rhyme or how long the words are. And then when you've got lots of ideas, lots of vocabulary, lots of imagery, you know, you've got your onomatopoeia and all of that, then you can begin to actually think about, okay, what rhyming pattern do I want to use? And also what syllables do I want to use? So I'm just going to do some syllable work with you right now. So let's just do that. I'm going to just pause that video for a moment and let's just do the syllable words. So what do I mean when I'm talking about counting syllables? So syllables are the little sections, the segments that each word makes, right? So if we clap out counting syllables or count out counting syllables, we'd say counting syllables, counting syllables. 5 syllables in the phrase counting syllables, right? So you can do this with your child's name, you can do this with your name. So if I say teaching literacy with soul, I've got 7, right? If I do switched on academy, that's 6, right? So you can count out syllables, and this will help you to not just have a rhyming pattern, but also a syllabic pattern, which gives your poetry a meter, which helps it to feel better when you're saying it, right? And after I've read my poem to you, we will have a look at what those syllables were. All right, so let's go back to our presentation and then we will have a look at the poem itself. All right, so you've planned it out, you know what you want to do, and now it is time for us to read our creation poem. This is a drawing that was sent to me by lovely 12-year-old girl, Lillian Strickland. Beautiful drawing here. So I'm going to kind of leave that up while I read you the poem. Okay, so in fact, let me just put it's a bit fuzzy, so I'm just going to put another image up instead. There we go. Okay, so this is how the world was made. Let's get going. So I want you to get sitting comfortably and just enjoy the poem. A star dropped into the ocean. A moonbeam fell out of the sky. Stardust mixed with sunlight. A tear began to dry. A soft rainbow made a light bridge. A cloud transmitted a kind thought. Lightning mixed with thunder. The clouds began to part. Sunlight cascaded through blackness. Deep golden light felt soft, damp ground. Silver drops covered vast seas. Yellow sparks shone around. So there we go. All right, so let's have a little look at what made this a good poem, so that you'll be able to pick out these things as well when you are working with your children. Okay, so first of all, let's think what we had first of all. Let's think about the syllabic pattern. So we had a star dropped into the ocean, a star dropped into the ocean, 8. A moonbeam fell out of the sky, 8. Stardust mixed with sunlight, 6. A tear began to dry, 6. So straight away we can see that our syllabic pattern is 8, 8, 6, 6. So in our poem, in the rest of the stanzas, that's what we want to have. And in fact, that's what we have. A rainbow made a light bridge. A cloud transmitted a kind thought, 8, 8. Lightning mixed with thunder. The clouds began to part, 6, 6. So you get the idea. Okay, so now we're going to look at the actual rhyming pattern. Okay, let's think about that rhyming pattern. That was something that we spoke about earlier that was important. Just writing it in for you now. So a star dropped into the ocean. Oh, I've misread it here. A moonbeam fell out of the sky. Stardust mixed with sunlight. A tear began to dry. So the two lines that rhyme are the second and the fourth line. The other ones don't rhyme at all. So that would mean that our rhyming pattern is, let's just add that so you can see our rhyming pattern, I've done a comma there, is A, B, C, B. So first line, second line, third line, fourth line rhymes with the second line. Let's check that for our second stanza. A soft rainbow made a light bridge. A cloud transmitted a kind thought. Lightning mixed with thunder, the clouds begin to part. So here we've got something called a near rhyme, right? Here we've got something called a near rhyme, which you can use in poetry when you're kind of cheating, but it's actually also very effective. So that's where your words almost rhyme, okay? Your words almost rhyme. Okay, good. So, so we've looked at near rhyme, we've looked at rhyme, we've looked at our syllabic pattern, and we've looked at our rhyming pattern. So what else is good in this poem? What else is good in this poem? Well, we mentioned onomatopoeia a couple of times. So that's not that strong in this poem, to be fair, but there is in the final stanza the example, yellow sparks shone around. And sparks is a word which is quite onomatopoeic. It makes you kind of think, right? So we've got some onomatopoeia in there. We've also got some wow words, okay? We've got some great vocabulary in there. We talked about having our powerful words. So I'm going to just show you what those are now. So for example, transmitted, we've got in here. Cascaded is another good word in here. And so that brings the kind of level of the poetry up, right? That brings the level of the poetry up. Now, another really great technique is alliteration. So alliteration is when the sounds, the same consonants begin the beginnings of words, okay, making the same sounds. So here we've got, for example, stardust, sunlight, beginning with S's, cloud and kind, beginning with that K sound, even though one is a C and one is a K. That's absolutely fine because it's the sound that we're looking out for. We've got deep and damp in the third stanza. We've got golden and ground in the third stanza as well. Okay, and we've got silver and seas. So we've got lots of lovely examples of alliteration. So far we've had rhyme, near rhyme, we've had a syllabic pattern, we've had a rhyming pattern, we've had high-level vocabulary, we've had alliteration, and we've had assonance, and we've had onomatopoeia. And there's one more thing which I'd like to point out to you, which is personification. Now, this is really quite a high-level thing to do. Can't see what I'm doing here. So personification, what does personification mean? So personification is when you take an inanimate object or an object from nature, and you give it like a human type form. And the way I've done this here is by saying a tear began to dry, right? And also by saying, where did I put that? I really liked it. I've got something here. Oh, the cloud transmitted a thought. Well, we don't normally think of clouds as thinking, okay, although we can have clouded thoughts. So it's quite a clever twist on that meaning. So a cloud transmitted a kind thought. All right, good. So let's just go back to our let's go back to the PowerPoint thing here, and then we're almost finished. Let me just find it for you. So what we're going to look at now is how we can perhaps use this to do some follow-up activities after you have written your poem. So thank you those of you who are watching, giving me thumbs up. I love that, to know that this is really helping you. So what made that good writing then? So we planned it out, we had the patterns, we had the onomatopoeia, we had the repetition for effect, because we had a tear began to dry and the clouds began to part. Okay, and so we had the good vocabulary, we had our theme, and we had our rhyme and near rhyme. All right, so now it is time to think about some questions for discussion that after this kind of poetry type lesson you could ask your children. For example, discuss the creation of Earth. What stories and theories have you heard? What do you think about them and why? Why do you think the human race has always been fascinated by creation stories? Compare and contrast a selection of creation stories from different cultures. Are there any similarities? If so, why? If not, why? Some other lovely activities that you could do is make a mind map of your creation poem, and you can base your idea on some themes you've discovered from different cultures. You could also try and rewrite this play as a descriptive narrative, which would be great. And what we're going to move into now is a beautiful meditation. So I would like you, it's very short, but it's a lovely thing to do with children to get them used to doing a short meditation, just of a couple of minutes or so. So if you are listening and you need to pause this video to get ready, then please do that. Otherwise, we can get going. All right, so I'm just going to give you a nice picture to look at, which is our moonbeam and our star shooting into the sky here. All right, so I'm also going to get some nice music on for you. Right, perfect. Let's just get some nice music going here. Okay, so taking a deep breath. Release your breath. Imagine sitting on the edge of another planet as you are watching the Earth being born. A star dropped into the ocean. Can you see it shimmer? Can you hear it splash? Can you see it sink down to the bottom of the ocean? With your next breath, imagine inhaling the soft light from the moonbeam as you are standing on the rainbow bridge. Look around at the beautiful points of starlight and know that you are connected to everything in the universe. That as you begin to really understand your place in this lifetime, you are supported by the universe, by the clouds and the sunlight, by the rain and the thunder, that you too are a being full of light. Just breathe in this light from the moonbeam. Breathe in this light from the stars. Breathe in the light from the rainbows. Breathe in the light from the sunshine. And feel your heart expand. And then very slowly, coming back to your space, wiggle your fingers and toes and taking a deep breath in, coming back to the room. You may want to yawn or stretch or sigh as you come back to the space, knowing that you are full of light, knowing that you are full of love. All right, so that brings us to the end of our session. I hope you have enjoyed our lesson together, and I will be broadcasting again soon another lesson on teaching literacy with soul as part of our Lollipops and Rainbows book and as part of our core curriculum in the Switched On Academy. Take care, have a wonderful day, and see you soon. Bye for now.
I hope that you've enjoyed the show today as much as we've enjoyed making it for you. If you've got anything out of this episode, please do tell someone else how they can subscribe to the Brand Builders TV channel at youtube.com/brandbuilderstv. Why not join us at our next Brand Builders THINKUBATOR, a global mastermind that we run every week to take away the loneliness of being in business on your own. For more information and to book your place, visit LITE.BRANDBUILDERS.CLUB/THINKUBATOR. That's LITE.BRANDBUILDERS.CLUB/THINKUBATOR. Until next time, be the ripple that you wish to see in the world, and we'll see you soon.